and welcome back to the Garden of Epiphany. I'm your host, Raven Epiphany, and I'm so glad you decided to join us for week 2 of our Women's Herstory Month series. So before we jump into our topic for this week, wanted to talk about what we discussed last week. We talked about menstrual health and how we can choose healthier products moving forward to kind of help with our menstrual experience. This week we'll be talking about another women's health topic, but before we jump into it, I want to kind of share, my experience a little bit. So when I first started my cycle, I didn't have any cramps. I remember bragging about it to my friends, like, oh, don't know why y'all are, hurt, because I'm not. And then later on, I think about high school, the cramps rained down hard, okay? And for years and years and years, like I can't even remember, the last time that I had a cycle that did not involve seriously painful cramps, like, folded over on the floor type, level cramps, to the point where I just started, as soon as I feel even just a twinge, taking pain medication so that I would not even have to deal with it. Well, fast forward, I started doing something called cycle syncing, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And it really definitely changed my experience. It took a while for it to, kick in, but I just noticed small changes occurring over time. Of course, like I said, I started off with the products and I saw changes there, but my cramps were still persistent no matter what type of products I was using. So cycle syncing really helped me to kind of shift my actual menstrual experience, not just the amount of time that it was happening, but also the actual pain, and some of my PMS symptoms have actually changed. So that's kind of why I wanted to be able to share this with you. I am no expert. I actually got this technique from someone who hosts a women's holistic health podcast, and I will link that podcast below because she gets into a lot more detail about this topic and things you can do to implement it. But like I said, this is something that has worked for me and definitely helped me over the years, or I want to say over the last few months, to change my menstrual. And I'm so happy to say that I have had 4 full months without cramps. And to some that may seem like not a big deal, but again, I've dealt with cramps for years and I did not know it was possible to even have a cycle that did not involve a painful period. And so let's jump right into it and talk about cycle syncing. So cycle syncing is the process of living or planning your life around your natural cycle, and so it helps us to work in flow with our body instead of against it at different stages. Women's bodies operate on what is called an infradian rhythm, and that is over the course of about a 28-day cycle, which impacts our brain, our metabolism, our immune systems, our microbiome, our stress response system, and our reproductive system, obviously. And so, you can even see just right now why it would be beneficial to work with the system instead of against it, because it affects a lot of our experience and what's going on in our body. So there are 4 phases of your menstrual cycle: the follicular phase, the ovulation phase, the luteal phase, and the one that we all know, the menstruation phase. So the follicular phase is the one that we will talk about as the first phase. Realistically, because it's a cycle, you could start at any point and flow through this, but we'll start with the follicular phase. It lasts about 7 to 10 days, and it happens right after menstruation. So that very first day after you have stopped bleeding, you would be entering into your follicular phase. During this time, your hormones and energy are restored. You have increased estrogen, which makes room for more memory and more challenging tasks, and it makes space for new things. So this is a great time to start new projects, to brainstorm new ideas and jump right on them, and to make space for creativity. In your relationships and social life during this phase, because of your increased energy, you can feel free to say yes to a lot more things. Go on those outings, accept more invitations, go out and be social. As far as foods and nutrients, you want to be eating fresh, light, and nutrient-dense foods. And so that is like your salads and veggies, lean proteins, and beans and seeds. Again, this is a time to kind of replenish the things that were, cleansed out during the menstruation phase. And then for exercise, you can try something new or keep it interesting. So that's a great time for you to try a new workout class or a new workout technique. Try new styles all during this phase. This is the time to introduce new things. Your body is regenerating itself, so why not introduce something new? The next one is something that a phase that a lot of people probably know about, which is your ovulation phase. This lasts from 3 to 5 days. Actual ovulation itself only happens on one day, but the phase itself lasts about 3 to 5 days. During this phase, your hormones are rising to their highest points. The increased estrogen and testosterone give you a lot of energy, so you'll be high energy during this time, and you'll have an increased mental sharpness and creativity. And so with your relationships and social life, it's a great time to have important conversations. You are able to communicate more clearly during this phase, communicate your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions, etc. So definitely a great time to have those conversations, whether it be, in romantic relationships, family relationships, or even in work relationships. This is a great time to start having, conversations that require a bit more communication skills. And again, this is another phase where you can say yes to outings, say yes to dates and networking events, etc. You are able to communicate yourself well, so it's a great time to get out there and be social. As far as foods and nutrients, you want to be eating fresh, light foods with lots of fiber. And so that looks like your fruits. You can have fruits and smoothies in access during this time. You want to be eating lighter grains like quinoa to be, again, replenishing your body. And then for exercise, this is the time, because you have that increased estrogen and testosterone, you can feel free to go hard. And so you can try out your HIIT workouts during this time. You can make time for boot camps and other high intensity workouts is what your body is looking for and what your body can sustain during this ovulation phase. The luteal phase follows the ovulation phase, and this one is the longest of the 4 phases. This one lasts between 10 and 14 days. And I just want to note, we already know this, but all women's bodies operate differently, and that's why there are a range of days instead of just one set amount. And so as you start to get into this, you will notice, what your average cycle looks like. And so during the luteal phase, your hormones peak in the beginning to their highest levels, and then towards the end, they fall to the lowest levels right before menstruation happens. During this time, you are task and detail oriented, so it's a great time to wrap up projects and, check off the rest of your to-do list. And then you may have PMS during the second half of this. One thing that I learned in, approaching this process is that PMS is not even something that all people have to have. Like, it's something that we're used to and that we've accepted. But realistically, if we implement some of these things, we can either eliminate or at least alleviate a lot of the symptoms of PMS. And so during that first half of the luteal phase, you will notice that you're high energy, but during that second half, you will definitely have lower energy, again, because your hormones are doing that fluctuation from their highest point to the lowest point. In your relationships and social life, you want to say no thank you a lot more during that second half of the luteal phase, again, because you will have low energy. You want to make a lot more time and space for self-care during that second half of luteal phase, less social events. As far as romantic relationships, this is a great time for romantic gestures and connection. And if you're single, this is a great time to still do those romantic things for yourself, bubble baths and, buying yourself flowers, going to get a massage, etc. As far as foods and nutrients, this is a time when you want to eat lots of leafy greens, even though we should be eating those anyway. You want to up your intake during this time. And then it's great to implement some grounding foods like root vegetables. Root vegetables are like your sweet potatoes or potatoes, carrots, turnips, etc. And then for your exercise during the first half, this is a great time to implement those strength training workouts and resistance workouts. And then during the second half, you want to start taking it easy. You can go for walks, you can do yoga, anything that's really light and easy. And last but not least, this is again the one that we all know about, and this is the menstrual phase. This one lasts between 3 and 7 days. This is the time when your body is actually, shedding and bleeding. Your hormones decline rapidly to their lowest points during this phase. And so what does that mean? This is a time to rest. Yes, I said it. For some of us, that has been a curse word, but this is the time where you need to rest. This is also a time where your right and left brain hemispheres are connecting at higher levels. And so this is a great time for reflection and analysis. This is a time to ask yourself, what has been working? What hasn't been working? What do I want to do going forward? This is a great time, again, for reflection, journaling, and, thinking about how the past month has gone. As far as relationships and social life, this is the time when you want to have the most alone time. And so you want to implement more self-care practices during this time. And you want to increase your boundaries a bit so that you can preserve that time and space for you. Food and nutrients. You want to add in foods with lots of nutrients during this time. Your body is shedding, and so it's definitely important to add in more so that you're not at an imbalance. And so you want to get a lot more fiber, lots more antioxidants, lots more iron and zinc, etc. And you can do this through lean proteins and seafood, healthy fats like nuts or dark chocolate. And this is a great time to eat your soups and stews, those things that soothe the body. As far as exercise, you need to, again, rest and relax, especially at the beginning of the menstrual phase. If you feel up to it, maybe during that second half of your cycle, you can do some light workouts like stretching or going for a light walk, doing some light yoga, not your intense yoga workouts, but your light yogas. And just keep in mind that I know some of us are on workout regimens and things like that, but during this phase, it's important to take it easy because if you go too hard during this phase, you may actually turn on the fat storing mode within your body, and that's kind of counterproductive to what you're actually trying to do. So how can you get started in implementing these things into your life? First things first, I made a video about this recently. You want to listen to your body and respond accordingly. So a lot of this sounds like a lot to do, but once you're listening, once you kind of get into the groove, it'll be a lot easier for you to listen out to what your body is saying. For example, I'm tired. I don't want to do a HIIT workout. So maybe that's when you just respond to your body and do a yoga workout instead, or do some strength training instead. Or when your body is saying, I'm really craving, a salad. That's the time when maybe your body's telling you that it needs those extra nutrients. And so the first things first is listening to your body and responding accordingly. The next thing you want to do is implement a little bit at a time and observe what works for you. And so we went through all 4 phases. Maybe for you, this looks like attacking one phase at a time and trying out, the different things throughout that. Or maybe you want to attack one section at a time. So let's say you want to start with exercise and try to get your exercise on track with all of your phases to start out with, and then add in your foods, and then add in your social life. However you want to do it, implement a little bit of a time at a time. Don't try to jump right in and perfect every single thing. It's a journey. It's not a race. It's a marathon. You want to stick it out and give your body time to adjust. And so for me, when I started this cycle syncing process, it didn't, automatically change. I mean, granted, I did feel a little bit different in the beginning just because I did, change my eating habits and things like that. I did feel some benefits. However, it did take time for me to actually see the results that I was hoping for, i.e. for me, getting rid of those cramps. And so give your body time to adjust and, wait it out. And lastly, don't give up. Remain committed to being your healthiest self and having the best possible menstrual experience. So don't stop believing, essentially, that you can have a better menstrual experience. And even, I didn't put this here, but even if necessary, if you need to, get your doctor involved in, helping you figure out what will work well for you and, improving your menstrual experience, then do that. But don't give up on the idea that it can be better, because it definitely can be. So if you have questions or testimonies that you want to share with us, please do reach out. I would love to hear from you. Leave it in the comments below or reach out on Instagram at the Garden of Epiphany. I'm happy to answer any basic questions or even lead you to other resources that may be helpful. I'm also going to link some extra resources in the in the description below for things that helped me to kind of get on track with my cycle. Again, it's the still a journey. I'm still implementing new things to better my experience as well. And so if you notice that this is working out for you, I would also love to hear that. So please do share, again, in the comments or on Instagram. If you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed on YouTube. So click that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit the thumbs up and let us know that you liked it. And make sure you stay tuned so that you don't miss the video. And then go ahead and subscribe to our email list. We send out Wellness Wednesday emails each week. And so if you would love to get these Wellness Wednesday updates in your inbox every Wednesday, go ahead and subscribe at our website. On thegardenepiphany.com. Promise we will not be sending a million emails, just one a week, and or whenever we upload a new blog. You will be the first one to know. So thank you again for joining us today. If you would like to connect with us further, you will see our socials pop up, and I hope that you have a wonderful and healthy, wholesome week. Till next time, bye.